And we're going to try this one more time. I'm sorry for whatever the hell just happened right then, but apparently my computer decided it wanted to completely freeze up and then not do anything that I wanted it to do. But the good news is we seem to be in much better shape now. And Jeremy was just talking about his thoughts on the film Tron. Jeremy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, hopefully that's where we ended off. I think what I was saying is, as a spectacle, I mean, like the way the movie looks, it's fucking wild. And I said, even for it coming out in the early '80s, like that was also, I think, a lot of new technologies at that time to make movies. That's why it was so like mind blowing to people. So, and it holds up pretty well. You can still watch it today and still be amazed by it.
It's great to watch it back to back. I've done it twice.
Yeah, it still fits, and it's very Matrix-y, which is one of my favorite movies. It got bumped down a notch, but whatever. It always held the throne because the Matrix was like my favorite movie.
But don't you think movies like this could have inspired the concept of the Matrix?
Oh, for sure. Mm-hmm. Like I said, being trapped in that kind of like weird virtual world where it's like
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think I mentioned too, like that's why WandaVision enticed me so much, because I'm like, this is really wild. I love shit like that. Where I'm just like, something's off, something's not right about this place. It's creepy.
Yeah, one of the cool things about this movie is this is one of the first movies that used like what would end up becoming the blue screen technology. They actually shot everything against a black background with these crazy white suits on, and they just tweaked the colors a lot in post production to give them that glowing kind of that Tron look. And so this is one of the things that led to what modern day green screens and things like that are. And this is kind of where it began what Disney does now when they film movies like film shows like The Mandalorian, how they have that, it's like a green screen, but it's still got stuff around for them to interact with. This is kind of the forerunner to everything that Disney's doing now with the way that they shoot a lot of their stuff. So, yeah, and obviously it came at just the right time. It's right as the computer internet craze was starting to really explode and build up, and everybody was starting to learn this crazy new world of technology and coding and things like that. Obviously, video games were at this point already in pop culture this huge thing. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, one of the best places to go was the arcade. Yeah, I could very easily drop $30-$40 like really quick in an afternoon at an arcade. But yeah, and then on top of that, it really just was a cool story. And you got a lot of actors that were pretty big stars in this. I mean, Jeff Bridges already had his star was already pretty big. He'd been in a lot of things already. Bruce Boxleitner was already, I think at that point, I think it was right about the time he had gotten his own TV show. I mean, so he had been around for a while. And then, of course, you have the older guy who was in a bunch of movies already. The blonde girl, at this point, she'd been in she'd been in the first Caddyshack movie and a couple other films. So she was a pretty big name too. Just the concept was weird. This is one of the first big sci-fi movies that really came after Star Wars, and it really explored kind of this weird area of it all. And then of course you add in the what if factor. What if you would have gotten sucked into this video game world? And then of course all the Easter eggs, Pac-Man on the screen that a lot of people that have seen the movie 100 times like I have seen, things like that. So. And the sequel, while not very well received by a lot of people, I actually thought was pretty damn good. I thought it was the only real direction you could have gone with it. So I mean, and there is a lot of talk that Disney wants to do a third film. I know that they've already.
Well, actually, it's funny you say that. I looked at the filmography of the writer, director, and screenwriter for the first Tron movie, and it says in his credits under writer, Tron 3 quote announced.
Well, announced doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get made, but
I know.
Olivia Wilde has said she wants to come back and do it. Jared Leto has apparently already been attached to it somehow, so we could be getting Jared Leto in some kind of a role in Tron 3. And I would imagine they wouldn't have put Leto in it unless they were pretty confident that it was going to get made, or at least that he wouldn't sign up on it unless he was pretty sure it was something that was going to get made and that he could have a lot of fun with. So I'm hoping that's kind of a harbinger of some good things to come. But yeah, I mean, this is absolutely one of those films that, I mean, it was quintessentially 80s. It broke a lot of new ground. Obviously, because it's a Disney movie, so it's got that going for it. So it's kind of a legacy production for Disney. If you can spot the hidden Mickey in there, good luck, because I still haven't seen it. It's made a million times since I've watched the movie, and I've actually seen scenes that like YouTube videos that point out where it is, and just kind of as the scene flows, I have trouble seeing it. But yeah, it's a fantastic movie, and Tron, like I said, it's one of those 80s legacy movies. It's like if there's top 10 80s movies, Tron has to be on that list somewhere, if you know what you're talking about. But anyway, whose was Tron's? Anyway, that was one of yours, Cora, is that right? So I guess that means we're going to Jeremy next for one of his films. What's going on with you, buddy?
Yeah, we do. And I just realized I think I actually have a prop that I made, one of the first props I ever made, in that closet right there that will actually irony, if I say it, goes hand in hand. My next movie was, see, you know where I'm going already. It was Evil Dead. From, oh god, was it 79?
Sounds about right. Yeah, it's right around there somewhere.
It was something like that. It has a very young, still very chiseled jaw, fucking Bruce Campbell. Can't think of his fucking name. I was distracted. I'm so sorry. And it was some other little known director called Sam Raimi. Whoever the fuck he's gonna be in life. And they're just like, hey, let's just fucking make. They just went out, and I think they rented the cabin like from someone they knew, and that was, I think, Sam Raimi's actual car at that time. It's just, and it was like, hey, it's a group of teenagers go. It's a classic. Go into the woods in the middle of fucking nowhere to this cabin. And hey, let's just stay the fucking night or stay the weekend while they're doing, as kids do, whatever. And yeah, you find the book of the dead, and you start fucking around with that, and then the tape of whoever found it before, reciting some Latin, whatever, and they become possessed and they become deadites, and they start like possessing each other and killing each other, and there's no shortage of like. I've shown this movie to people, and I'm just like, you just don't say anything. Let it go. Let it do its thing. Let it happen. Because it is just kind of, it just keeps going and going and going. There's so much blood, so much gore. Oh, really cool effects. And then, I don't know. We won't talk about the thing with the tree. That may have been a little far. And I think Sam Raimi's even admitted it, and the girl who was involved in it. If you know, you know. That may have been pushing it a little far. However, you don't think much of that, and then I'm sorry. And like we have like two sequels, which kind of retcon the first, or rather, and then there's the third, and then they have a fucking TV series of it. It's all, shall I say, pretty groovy. Hail to the king.
Yeah, no doubt. Cora, have you ever seen this movie? I know you're not a big horror fan, so I'm guessing not.
I'm looking it up right now. I know who Sam Raimi is. And I'm looking it up on Internet Movie Database to see if I recognize anything. I haven't. Oh.
This really is.
I have noticed. No, sorry. Go ahead.
It really is kind of one of the. It really is one of the horror staples. It is. I think it was meant to be more like a horror comedy. Now, mind you, I haven't seen this movie in probably 10 or 15 years either. But it really is kind of. It is one of the first true horror comedies. There is this goofy aspect to it, but one of the things that Sam Raimi has been really, really good at through his entire career is this darker tone stuff. I mean, even when he did the Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, they have kind of a weird dark tone to them. They're not as fluffy and airy as like the newer stuff with Tom Holland is. Mm-hmm. But he's kind of one of those directors that's a little bit like Tim Burton, where some of his best stuff has got really dark tones to it, and even though it's funny or very good, really kind of ominous tone to everything that he does.
Gotcha.
Excuse me. Now, obviously, go ahead, Jeremy.
Well, I was saying, and if you know that, do you realize why Bruce Campbell is in all three of the Spider-Man movies? That would be why, because they're still friends to this day. He plays a character.
He's in a lot of Raimi stuff.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but they're like still friends. That was like the first thing they collaborated on was this fucking movie way back in the fucking late 70s.
Sam Raimi was an executive producer for a Xena Warrior Princess TV show.
That sounds about right.
You do what you do. And also,
that was a tremendously popular TV show, though.
Yeah, I know, but it's just so funny when you go from horror to that, or back and forth. That was just off the woo.
And the car that Uncle Ben has is the same car from Evil Dead. That's the same damn car. It's the same car. Yeah, did you notice the car that Uncle Ben drives? Yeah.
Yeah, in the first Spider-Man movie, yeah.
I didn't get car from Evil Dead.
Yeah, I never caught that.
He wrote Ash versus Evil Dead. That was I think I heard about that being good.
And there's the show. Since I found it, and also this actually fits me a little more now since I'm not like 30 pounds lighter when I made this. Are you really going to argue with a man that has a fucking chainsaw for an arm? Come on.
Hi, Rachel in the chat.
So when I tell people like Knight that like horror is what Jeremy does, it's kind of his thing. This is what I'm talking about. It's like, he actually has the chainsaw hand.
I made this bitch myself by hand. It's a fucking bike chain and a fucking 2x4, an orange juice jug. Yeah, you got the full cord and everything. I have a shot. I have the boomstick in there somewhere. I don't know where it went. I think it's broken. I need a new boomstick. Shop smart. Shop S smart. Yeah, there was. Yeah, arm out there.
It looks like it's brand new still. So.
And looking at Jeremy's list, I mean, like I said, he's the horror guy. So there's actually several horror things that are on his list tonight. So,
look.
Where's Nightwatch when you need him, right?
I'm sure he'll get a kick out when he sees it. But
really? That's for you, bro. I'm telling you, put me on your show, please.
I think
Casey's Rock keeps wanting over here, so if you ever have to miss one,
yeah. But yeah, like I said, Evil Dead. It's one of the first kind of horror comedies. It's so well put together. And then to top it off, I mean, it's graphic without being obtuse. But I mean, come on, the chainsaw hand. I mean, when was it ever done before? It's like, it's one thing to have a guy like Leatherface run around with a chainsaw hacking up teenagers. I mean, that's cool. But like this guy, he actually put a chainsaw where his hand was when he loses his hand, and becomes kind of like and becomes kind of like the first cyborg Terminator assassin killer kind of thing. It's just. Where did you ever see that?
That's the first thing you think of.
Yeah.
Right. That's the first thing. You're at least just like, wait. You're like, I'm just laughing now. And then, come on, him suiting up, putting the fucking thing on, and then just putting the shotgun behind him. Groovy. I'm like, oh, it's on. It's on. Oh my god.
It is. It's very on. But yeah, go check out Evil Dead. I'm sure it's on one of the streaming services somewhere. If not, I'm sure it's one of those things that come late September, they'll put it up on Netflix or something like that. So definitely go check that shit out. But on to my next movie, and I am a little bit drawn to this because they did film it in my hometown. But again, this is one of those movies that a lot like Rocky kind of was one of the first true cult classics. It was made for like bus fare as far as movie budget is concerned. It was made by two guys who had never done anything, I don't think, significant in entertainment before that. Very significant in the business since, but not before that. And that's Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Look, it's a bit sci-fi, a bit horror, a bit comedy. It's all ridiculous. But it's one of the most entertaining movies. It's one of the most entertaining movies I've ever seen. And it's like, even my kids who are not big on horror movies and kind of have this odd fear of clowns because, nobody likes clowns anymore for some reason, will sit and watch this movie and just get enthralled by it. This was actually one of my oldest son, or my youngest son rather, this was one of his favorite movies when he was like 7, 8 years old, was, I want to watch Scary Clowns, Daddy. I want to watch Scary Clowns. And he would sit there and watch, and he would sit there and just be glued to the TV whenever I would put this DVD in. Now, the basic plot of the movie is this weird alien spaceship lands near some oceanside town in California, and these crazy aliens that look oddly like clowns are going out and kidnapping people, and they're storing them in these bubbles that are made of cotton candy, and this is what they eat as these people, and when they're cocooned inside this cotton candy, it basically breaks them down, and they just poke a little funny little shaped straw, those little novelty straws with little bends in them and shit, into one of these things, and they drink out all the stuff that whatever. It's gross, sure. That's the horror aspect of it. But it's just such a wildly entertaining movie. And there's a couple of big names in it. The guy who plays the sheriff, I forget his name, but he was a huge character actor in the '80s, and they actually cast him because they had seen him play a similar role in another movie, and they were just like, we want that guy. He had played like some old, crotchety old town sheriff in another movie, and they were like, we want you to play this guy again. Yeah, that sounds right. But they were just like, we want you to play this character again, just in our movie, and that's basically what he was the hard nosed cop. He actually was in the he was one of the detectives in the Serpico film that came out with Pacino. He was one of the cops in that too, so that's kind of one of the roles that he's always played. But yeah, it's such a ridiculous movie. And again, they filmed it all over my hometown, near where I grew up in Santa Cruz, California. They filmed it in Santa Cruz and in Watsonville, which is another town nearby. And so there are several scenes in the movie where, I mean, I'm looking at like the intersections they're walking through, and I'm like, I've shopped at that store, I've been there, I've hung out at that street corner. So, but again, I mean, it's the guys that made this, the Chiodo brothers. And after this came out, they actually became kind of big effects guys in Hollywood, as well as continue to direct and write a few things as well. And therefore, probably 20 years now, has been this crazy rumor going around that the Chiodo brothers were actually going to try to make either a sequel to this or a remake. And I always hear the rumor and read stuff about it, and then it just disappears for like 6 months or a year, and then nothing ever happens to it, which is not unusual. That's kind of what happens in Hollywood. It can take a year or so to get a project off the ground, and then I'll hear like, oh, now this production company wants to take a shot at it, and then I won't hear anything about it for a while, and then it's like, oh, well, now this company is trying to get this director to do it, then I won't hear about it for a year. But off and on for like 20 years, I've always heard that they're going to go back to this somehow and try to revisit this franchise again. I really wish they would, because I think it's tremendously hilarious, and especially after it came out, It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, I thought it'd be a really good time to maybe go after this project one more time, because it's not a straight up horror. You can kind of play around with this a little bit and have the comedy sci-fi aspect to it to kind of tell this really, I mean, just like this, kind of an eclectic kind of weird story. Cora, have you seen this movie?
No, but as you're describing it, I'm like, did I see this on Mystery Science Theater 3000? I Googled it. They haven't actually done it, but they should. I think that'd be fucking hilarious. I think I may have caught this on cable some years back, like on AM. You know how AMC does that month of Halloween stuff, and they do weird. Yeah, I think many years ago I caught it on there, and I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched enough of it to get the gist of it. But it didn't grab me enough. But it sounds like a quirky, funny movie that would be really hard to forget.
Yeah, the two guys in the ice cream truck are friggin' hilarious. It's like when they have to go fight, and they even have like an old good old style video game boss battle where they go into the ship to try to rescue the people, and they're like this giant alien clown that they have to find some way to beat, and and he's shooting like poison popcorn at him or some shit. I mean, it's just such a corny movie. Like I said, it's ridiculous at every level, but it's so fun to watch. You know what I mean? Jeremy, have you seen this movie?
Yeah, and I think what happened was I hadn't actually seen it until about 2014 or so. I think I'd always heard about it, but my roommate at the time had it like on her shelf, and she's like, "You just want to watch this?" I'm like, "All right, it's probably about time. I've seen it." So yeah, and I was just like, I'm not mad. I'm not disappointed about this at all. It something captures, me. I'm like, it's quirky, weird, humorous, but it's also like horror movie kind of shit. It's just that's just me,
It really uses a lot of those sci-fi and horror tropes and kind of makes fun of them, like in a way that Hot Fuzz kind of made fun of all the action movie tropes. It really does kind of use those things. It's just like, screw it. We know this is going to be ridiculous, so let's just have fun with it. And they kind of poke fun at themselves while kind of telling this outlandish story. But if you guys get a chance, definitely go check out Killer Klowns. It is totally worth it. Cora, it is one of those movies where you could find it on one of the like AMC or TBS or something like 3 a.m. any time of year.
Yeah.
Just because they're like, we have to throw something in here that 5 people are going to watch. Let's put on the edited version of Killer Klowns from Outer Space. But I mean, like I said, in the last several years has seen a little bit of hype, a little bit more hype than normal for some kind of a journey back to this story somehow. Mm-hmm. I don't really know how they're going to do it. I know the Chiodo brothers I've heard them in interviews say that they would like to go back and do something with this again. But but because they kind of hold this product a little close to their hearts, they don't want to just go back and do it to do it. They feel like they want to do it in a way that's going to be good. They just don't want to throw something out there for the sake of it. So
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they're working on something kind of behind the scenes where they're really honing a decent story and something like that. Something that's very true to the original film. That they are going to look at it one day and say, okay, we're ready to go out there and do this thing because we think it's gonna pay homage to the original film in a way. It's probably not going to be a blockbuster or anything like that. It just needs to be fun because that's what the first movie was. And if they did that, I'd be perfectly happy. But Miss Cora, what's your next movie you want to?
My next one is Office Space from 1999. Again, the year I graduated high school. This was that was a good year for movies. Not gonna lie.
You also stole one of my honorable mentions. That was one of them, so thank you.
Well, hey,
Also, why I said yes.
It's nice when we both like something, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mike Judge wrote, directed, and did the screenplay for this. Ron Livingston, Jennifer Aniston, David Herman are the stars. There's a whole bunch of cool people in it. I was shocked Jennifer Aniston did this, but happily surprised. Gary Cole has a role in it. There's a lot of random people you recognize their faces, but you don't know where the fuck you know them from kind of people. It's just one of those movies that when you feel like your life sucks, you watch it and you're like, it doesn't suck that bad. And it's just funny as fuck. And because of this movie, people intentionally buy red staplers. It's just fucking, I mean, there's, and then, you know, like the pounding on the wall, boom, boom, hey, change it to channel, blah, 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 there's some boobs. You know, like the idea of having neighbors too close and but the beautiful part about it is the guy starts out hating his life and his job, and then he ends up doing something completely different. And it is a kind of a testament to how ridiculous tech companies were in the 90s. You know, startups, you know, doing great, and then they fail, and then everybody goes to the next one. It just, and then the whole shot skis thing. Don't even get me started on the flare shit.
15 pieces of flare at minimum.
Well, you see Brian over there. He's got 50 pieces. Like,
if you want to make the minimum 37 pieces of flare,
yes,
then make it 37 pieces of flare.
Yes.
You know what? I don't need 37 to do it. There's no flare.
The movie poster is so fucking awesome. Just somebody covered in Post-its. Has nothing to do with any of the main characters. I mean, and the guy who wrote, directed, and did the screenplay, I mean, he's done, not that I'm a fan, but Beavis and Butthead, Silicon Valley. He's, you know, Idiocracy. He was a producer for it. He's just, you know, an interesting guy. And the movie just, this is one of those I'm gonna love forever, and that's just how it is. So there you go.
Jeremy, we have strong thoughts about this movie, you and I.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you recall a time, right, when we wanted to get one of our supervisors, the place we used to work at, the Initech mug, because I swear to God, he was the driest. Like, the most monotone fucking supervisor you could ever ask for. And I'm like, oh my God. If he would come up to you and just be like, hey, what's happening? So if you could go ahead and, you know, finish those up, that'd be great. Okay, thanks.
I think he was trying to be the guy from Office Space.
No, I think he was just that way.
No, he was. I don't think you'd ever heard of that movie. Yeah. I was like, I don't think you'd get it. And like, we'd be sitting there laughing our asses off. We were found an Initech mode for him. But he had no fucking idea. Dude, I don't know.
I need that TPS report.
Yeah, right.
You should have put a random blank TPS report on his desk.
Did you get that memo? No, I think that's one of those movies that's like, that's one of the jobs I've said that like I would hate to do, and I'm glad I've never had to do it, was like a cubicle job or like an office job. Because I mean, even not having done a job like that, I still feel like I relate to that movie. I'm like, I've been at this job. Like, you know that job you've done, and it's been like that, and it fucking sucked.
I'm married to someone who's in one of those right now, and it's really hard to watch.
I know. I'm like,
I didn't say that.
sounds like a case of the Mondays, right? Like,
Is it?
got him. Yeah, like, but it's like you've had that job before and how much it sucks.
Yes.
Seriously.
I think I'm gonna go back and watch this movie tomorrow. Actually, now that we're talking about it,
Had to tell those stupid fudge packers I like Michael Bolton's music.
and I love the way it ended with Milton getting the check.
Oh hell yeah!
I mean, it's like
fucking made it out, dude.
fucking beautiful karma. Loved
I
it.
used to sit by the window and I could see the squirrels and they were married. If she could listen to her radio at a reasonable volume, I don't know why I can't listen to mine. She has her headphones on.
Okay, that's great, Melvin. Yeah, you have fun with that.
I've seen that guy Stephen Root play both that character and like a political operative on The West Wing, and I'm like, good God,
Yeah.
this is one of the unheralded actors of our time. He's got such great range.
He does.
And he's been in so much good stuff. Yeah, Office Space was pretty much, it was the perfect embodiment of the drollness and monotony that was the 90s in so many ways. Because that's how I remember the 90s. It was just like, yeah, we're all piddling along. We're just doing our thing. It's like the 80s were really eclectic
Especially
and
the
weird.
opening with the traffic.
Yeah.
Like
That
if you've ever driven in California, you know.
You don't really drive. You just kind of sit.
You just gotta sit there in
Yes.
your car.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it really was the embodiment of like what 90s life was like for these 30-somethings. These guys that have been out of college and they've got, they're into this thing as tech is really starting to take off and take over everybody's lives. Somebody needs to write that code and make sure that we don't all melt down once it hits the year 2000. So it was
Right.
up to these guys. And so you kind of feel their frustration when they decide that they want to go ahead and steal that little half a penny per transaction for whatever they do. I don't even know what the hell they do. But and then it ends up getting.
It's the thing from Superman 3.
It was the thing from Superman 3. They even point that out in the movie. But on top of that, it just shows you how good Mike Judge is as a comedic storyteller. I love Beavis and Butthead. That's one of my favorite things I have ever seen. That was like,
Again, a guy thing.
That was the shit when I was in high school. It's like, I mean, I went home, did my homework, and was home in time from baseball in time to eat a quick dinner and to watch Beavis and Butthead. That was my every fucking night.
I was a girl in that era and had to hear all the guys go boobs, and pointing at every random girl in the hallway.
Exactly.
I still do the cornholio shit. It's fun.
I tried. My headset's too big. I can't do it.
If they bring back Beavis and Butthead, I'm gonna be so annoyed.
Well, if you think, they tried a few years ago. They tried to come back in their season, but the problem is Beavis and Butthead got run off the air. But now that we're so used to it with things like South Park and with Family Guy, all these other animated things that just go way overboard, now Beavis and Butthead seems really tame. When back then they were joking about stupid shit like dropping worms in the fryer at Burger World or some shit. I mean, everybody thought that was so bad, but it's like Meg gets an abortion on Family Guy and everybody thinks that's okay. So, but I don't understand why. I understand why that show got run off the air, but Jackass was okay like 5 minutes later.
They should have had Beavis and Butthead host the Oscars with COVID. They're not real. They can't get. They should have done something like that.
They did something with Beavis and Butthead on the. What was it one year? Was it the Grammys?
That'd be awesome.
That's their thing.
When Beavis and Butthead was still kind of like a really popular thing before they started to get too much hate because people don't pay attention to what their kids are doing. I think they actually did a thing where they had like presented an award in the Grammys or something like that.
Oh, neat.
I know they messed around with them a lot on the MTV Movie Awards and stuff like that, but I think they actually handed out a Grammy, which was like, that was cool. But again,
that would be.
But again, Mike Judge is a really great comedic storyteller. I mean, some of the stuff that he's put out is amazing.
And I think if you don't like this movie, you're weird. That's like kind of a test for me. Well, like I can't be friends with you if you don't think Office Space is fun.
Like I said, if you have any strong memories of the 90s and how kind of mundane the decade was, especially towards the end, you get this movie in a way that other people can't.
That's true.
So because like I said, I grew up kind of in between.
18.
I grew up kind of in between the 80s and the 90s. I graduated high school in '96, so I kind of got it. So when this movie came out,
and
I was like,
only a couple years behind you, so we had similar experiences.
What's up, JCS Pro? Bro, I'm seeing you, chat, buddy.
I was like 4 years old, so.
But still a great movie. But you get it though.
Oh yeah,
you're wise beyond your years though, so you get it.
I know.
But other people, and like I said, I think Jennifer Aniston. I think this was right around the time that Friends was starting, wasn't it?
I
94.
don't
94
know
is when
Prince
Prince started.
So this was
94.
5 years after. Okay.
So she was gaining steam. Yeah.
I think it's great she did this movie because I mean it shows that she's not just looking for the big shit. She was willing to do something fun.
And Rod Livingston's he's a stud. He hasn't done anything that I haven't really liked. I've at least liked him in it.
My favorite scene was when he walked in the door wearing flip flops, and he takes that drill and he undoes the doorknob, and then he goes to his desk and undoes the thing over his and just knocks it down and just sits there and looks out the window.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
Yes.
Fucking love that song.
That scene.
I mean, are we not? I'm sorry, we're not gonna talk about the fucking printer. But like the most iconic thing was when they beat the shit out of the printer.
That scene is so classic. Awesome. They parodied that scene in Family Guy when they were breaking this record that Peter wouldn't stop playing over and over again.
Surfing Bird.
Surfing Bird. That was it. But yeah, that's an absolutely classic film that everybody should watch at least once. And again, you'll kind of get it. And really, it was this perfect mosaic of just how droll things were in the late 90s. Things kind of started to pick back up again once we got around 2000. Well, some good, some bad, apparently. But
once we realized we weren't going to die.
Yeah, once you realize the whole Y2K thing wasn't a big deal, everybody kind of let out a collective sigh and then went on with their lives. But I don't remember where we were at. Was that one of yours, Jeremy, or was that one of Cora's?
That was Cora's.
What's your next one that you want to talk about, Jeremy?
All right, well, I guess if we're talking about what's beyond my years, we're going to take a little bit of a big step backwards. And my next one, where's my list? Night of the Living Dead.
Nice.
Now.
Again, a lot of horror influence from Jeremy on this list.
Look, it's some classic shit, all right? That was like 1968, I believe.
Something like that, yeah, 68 or 69.
Yeah, some unknown guy named George Romero. This is a low budget movie. Just goes out and it's like, hey, I'm going to make this movie about these undead people that come back from the grave. And they kind of explain why it's like, and again, from the thing is, I think about like when this happened. This is in the late 60s. So a lot of this like space race shit is going on. Like, I mean, we hadn't been to the moon yet. Then if it was 68, we went in 69. He had like Sputnik back in like the 50s. So the whole idea that like something that we did and all this atomic testing that we had just done, no one really understood this whole thing about radiation and things from like space. And that was the whole thing. They're like, well, maybe it's the radiation from this satellite that we had that was in space going to Venus or something. They're like, I don't know. That's what's causing these people to come back, I guess. That's what we assume. And I'm like, how scary would that have fucking been? You're just like, oh my God, is that true? You know. And it's, if you ever want to talk about anything with zombies, you talk about George Romero. That's the grandfather of zombies, man. Like, this is what sets off things like The Walking Dead or fucking, I don't know how many of these Of the Dead series that he did. I mean, I've probably seen every single one. I watched Are You Listening?
By the way, sorry.
What?
I was going to say, did you know that the people who wrote the screenplay for this took a lot of influence from the novel I Am Legend?
I could see that. Mm-hmm. I don't remember when that came out, if that was before.
54, it says here.
54, okay.
That's pretty cool.
Because, I mean, like, this is like, I know it's not the first movie that is, I think there was one called Zombie. I think it was spelled with an I or something. There's like, and the zombies have been a thing since, like, it goes back to, like, Haitian culture. I actually just watched a thing on it. It's actually really cool. I like the whole history of the zombie. And it's not the first movie with zombies, but, like, the first modern, I'd say, like, actual, like, what you think of a zombie movie, like, they're just survivors, and they hole up in a house, they board up the windows, and they're just trying to wait it out, and, like, you know, you don't want to get bit by, and you want to try and get food, water, you want to get gas, and not go in the truck like a fucking idiot and get blown up. Stupid ass kids. but, and, I mean, I think, I'm going to take a slight second here, because I think I was going to say this when we were doing the Black History Month. I'm like, the lead fucking actor was a black guy. It was Dwayne Jones. Mm-hmm. I'm like, now, I think there was said Romero had always said, like, he didn't do that on purpose. He just picked the best guy that he thought, you know, was the best fit for the role. And I'm like, still though, I mean, like, even if unintentionally, you kind of made a big statement there that like he's
Yeah.
he's the guy that's got his shit together and he's trying to keep these people alive and he's got a plan. I'm like, you think fucking what's her name, Barbara's gonna be the one, the white girl, she's gonna be the fucking not maybe the hero of the movie, but she's gonna. I don't know. She's even a damsel in distress. She's just kind of there. She was just kind of.
I like that they filmed it in black and white, by the way.
Oh yeah, it sets off. There is a version actually. I started to watch it on YouTube. They had a colorized version of it, and it's fucking weird. It's weird. It's not the same. I thought it would be cool, but I'm like, I didn't know the car was like fucking actually red. It's throwing me off. I'm like, I don't like this.
I didn't like it. I've seen some scenes.
Yeah, I was like, now here's the. I liked it the first part when she goes to the cemetery and she's being chased by the zombie. But I was like, here's the real test because like I know they like these certain ways, especially shooting something in black and white. It looks better. But like when she gets to the house in the night scenes, I'm like, nah, this is fucking weird. It's too weird. I don't like it. It was meant to be this way.
Yeah, agreed. Like the movie The Blob. I love that movie.
Yes.
And it being in black and white gives it very limited. I mean, yeah.
It's like something scarier the less you see of it, the less you can see of it. It's kind of like.
I think maybe that's why I like the old horror movies that are black and white and the newer ones that are in color. I think it's just kind of for me a thing I'm figuring out now that I think about it.
Well, that's one of the big differences between the different eras of filmmaking is in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and in the 80s, you didn't really have the luxury of the flash and pizzazz of the special effects. You had to rely on good acting, good storytelling, and good dialogue delivery. Mm-hmm. So you get in the 80s and 90s, people got really lazy. They were like, yeah, we're going to put this good-looking guy, Brad Pitt, out there. He's not going to say anything. He's going to throw a lot of punches. Mm-hmm. A lot of shit's going to explode, and we're going to sell movie tickets like crazy. So one of the cool things about this era of filmmaking where Night of the Living Dead came out is you had to really get into someone's psyche to get that fear response. Because, yes. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I've always liked the older horror movies myself, is there's something about the way the films were shot that
they use sound, too.
Yeah.
Like the score, it amping you up. And I've found when I'm watching scary movies nowadays, and they start playing the scary music, and I don't want to hear the scream, I mute it, but I watch it, because I know the sound is going to amp me up and freak me out more than seeing it. So I let myself see it, but I don't want to hear it. Yeah,
it was a much more visceral experience back in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. Because they did have to rely a lot more on the suspense. I mean, look at what they did with the music for Jaws. It's those two little piano notes, and had to get your heart racing. It's stuff like that. They had to rely on these filmmaking tricks to really draw you into the film.
And that little ditty from Halloween. You know shit's about to start happening, and you're like, oh my god. Where is he? Where the fuck? Michael Myers is gonna come walking across.
Yeah, it's the simplest. It's such a simple piano riff that even I could play it, and I suck at piano.
Yeah,
but I mean, you hear it, and you instantly go to that play, and you instantly start looking over your shoulder when you hear it. You're like, holy shit! Where's the guy in the mask? where do I need to run upstairs and be that idiot and hide in the closet and hide in the closet? He's clearly going to stop. He clearly is going to be able to get through the door and kill me anyway. But
she stabbed him with the coat hanger. It worked.
Yeah, it works. Just blow him up and shoot him out into space. He'll be back in a couple weeks anyway. But yeah, I mean, there is something that's very visceral about these early horror films. It's like I think Jeremy and I had talked about it, and I think Brody and I had talked about it when he came in to do one of the horror movie retro reviews with me. There's this grainy kind of texture to the filmmaking. It really is. I mean, I love digital and what it's done for filmmaking, what it's done for some of the visuals of it all, like Avatar and things like that. But I mean, there is this much better way that I feel when I go back and watch something like I think Jeremy and I had talked about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, how it's got that hazy sepia kind of tone to the entire film, and that comes from having to be shot on 35 millimeter. Yeah, I mean, you do feel differently watching that movie.
Have you ever seen? It feels like it is that heat and that humidity and that just that raw weird feeling with it. And I have like a remastered version of it, and actually it's right somewhere on this desk actually, but it's like it still has that weird grainy film. But I'm like I'm sorry. Wait, still sitting at my feet. That last shot where he's just like throwing his fucking chainsaw around. Fucking.
Have you seen the Vincent Price movie, The Last Man on Earth, in black and white? That one was good. And evidently, it was also an adaptation of I Am Legend.
There's actually been a couple.
64.
Yeah, there was one.
That's really good.
I think Charlton Heston was in one called The Omega Man.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one.
Back in the late 60s, something like that. I'm not entirely sure. That story has actually been used as the basis for a couple of different movies. So
nice.
Yeah. JCS Foot Rub, he's thinking about hooking up with Patreon. If you do that, we appreciate it. How the Patreon works is, and I'll give you a quick boiled down version of it again, is if you give us $5 a month, you get a chance to win free $25 in free movie tickets on the first Thursday of every month. So right now we've got a couple different people that are supporting us in the Patreon. Was it the first Thursday of every month? We hold a little bit of a wheel spin, kind of like what Joe does over on his show, spinning the wheels for the points, something like that. Only somebody's name is going to pop up, and I send those people $25 in free movie tickets to try to support movie theaters and the people that work there as they start to come out from the pandemic. So that's kind of what we're hoping to do, is to support people just going back to the theater and helping get that industry on its feet, the theater industry back on its feet, not the movie makers necessarily. They're going to make their money one way or the other.
I'll be warned, JCS Foot Rub, Patreon can be a tard sometimes, but you just got to keep tracking through it and keep logging in when they're a jerk and don't let your shit go through.
Yeah. Any help that you give, or any chance you get to pimp us out and help our channel grow, we appreciate it a lot. I haven't really been on trying to pimp the channel out a lot lately. I think that's one of the reasons why the growth has been a little slow, but I'll have to get into that. But I think the next movie is mine. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. It is.
Okay. I mean, come on, Jeremy. We were going to talk about this movie.
Or were we? What is this movie we're talking about?
We were going to talk about Clerks. You know we were going to talk about Clerks.
I saw that on so many lists when I was doing some research.
When you were talking about Killer Klowns from Outer Space, you're talking about like filming in like your hometown. I was thinking like, oh, I really hope we talk about Clerks.
Well, when you mentioned the View Askew-universe earlier, I was like, yeah, we're going to get to that. We're going to talk about the View Askew-universe. Now,
yeah, you didn't know that. I didn't know that you did. I was like,
I mean, come on, we had to talk. We can't talk about cult classic movies, you and I, and not at least do something about this film. You know what I mean?
Talking about filming something in black and white and it fucking working.
And let me tell you a little something about this. I mean, Kevin Smith was a guy who dropped out of film school after 6 months or something like that. As I've heard him tell the story anyway. And so he decides to go back to New Jersey where he grew up, and he couples together 25 or 30 grand. I mean, he borrows and saves and works at. He literally, Cora. First off, have you ever seen this movie?
I have.
Okay, where they shot this movie, he actually worked at that convenience store and that video store in real life. before becoming a filmmaker. Wow. So this really is a mosaic of him coming to be as the guy that we now know as Kevin Smith. And it's this really weird look as to how he saw life at that stage. As a matter of fact, and Jeremy, I know I've told you about this before, I don't know if you've seen it or not, there is this DVD out there called An Evening with Kevin Smith that came out many years ago. Yes. I'm sure you've probably seen it. You can actually find clips of it on YouTube. Yes. You can actually cobble together the entire thing on YouTube. But he went around to different colleges and stuff like that, talking to his kids, answering questions about filmmaking and what his motivation was and his coming into filmmaking and all that. He shot this movie in black and white because he couldn't afford color film. He was like, black and white cheaper, I'm going to go ahead and shoot it in black and white. I mean, this literally was like guerrilla filmmaking in a way. It's as independent as you could possibly get. And it's one of those movies that, if you're in that age group, that is you. This is the perfect album of what your 20s looked like in the late 90s, or mid to late 90s. And he's even said, if you go back and watch, and I'm pretty sure you can find this section on YouTube, he even says that Clerks was his vision of what life was like in his 20s, and that Clerks 2 was a vision of what life was like in his 30s. And if he did a Clerks 3, that he would like to go back to these characters to put out there what he saw as life was like in his 40s. Now, thankfully,
but he is doing it.
He eventually. As a matter of fact, he's been talking about doing it for a long time. I think most of the people involved in this film series over the years have been wanting to do this for a long time. But this was the first movie in what is called the View Askew-universe. it's this kind of series of films, not unlike the MCU. They kind of exist in this weird universe together. It's like Clerks, Chasing Amy is kind of a chick flick. You might get into that. Mallrats, which is kind of a cool coming of age movie. It's I kind of hold it up there next to like a Dazed and Confused or something like that. Dogma, which is which I think is probably his funniest movie he's ever done. It's like all these movies that he's done in this universe, they all have some like carryover here and there. There is this little bit of connective tissue that shows that they all exist in the same universe. And they're absolutely and Clerks, dude, it's one of those like 3 or 4 movies that came out in like the mid to late 90s that is the perfect, it perfectly encapsulates what it was like to be that 18 to 25-year-old age group in that era.
Yes.
And I'm sure me and Jeremy have all the same thoughts about it.
I don't need to speak for it. I've spoken enough for it, believe me.
Yeah. This is
I agree with you on everything you said.
Yeah, this is one of the movies that Jeremy and I quote on a daily basis. Like, our casual conversations say shit like, it could be worse. I could have been number 37.
37? My girlfriend sucked 37 dicks. In a row?
Bro?
Hey, try to suck me dick around the parking lot. There's a million fine-looking ladies out there, man. Not all of them are going to bring you lasagna at work. Most of them cheat on you.
This movie is just classic, and like I said, honestly, it's gotten to the point where people look at the View Askew universe the way they look at Star Wars, and like they tell you that you're supposed to watch the movies in a certain order. And I'm like, no, just watch them as they come out. But it's like, no, you got to watch this movie first, and then watch this movie, then go back to this movie, then just watch them all. It doesn't really matter. Clerks 1 and Clerks 2 are the only ones that are really kind of in any significant order. But even then, Clerks 2 kind of stands on its own. If you haven't seen Clerks 1, you won't get some of the in-jokes, but you'll still laugh at some of the shit that goes on because there's enough new stuff in that movie to where you'll be entertained. But yeah,
you never go out the mouth.
This is a movie that if you want to understand the 90s, whether you like Kevin Smith or not, you should just watch it.
Oh, absolutely.
It's time capsule moment.
Like I said, what it was like to be in that age group during that period of time. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's resonated with me so much. And like I said, Jeremy being a bit of a wise person, a bit of an older soul, it's like I think he gets it too because he understands. Yeah. He's pushing it, but he gets it though. And when you get what Kevin Smith is saying in this movie, it's actually a lot more powerful than you realize. But yeah, that's what I think. I think we've said all we're going to say about. I think we said all we're going to say about Clerks. I think we just all love this movie. But Cora, it's your turn now. What's the next movie you want to talk about?
That would be The Goonies, which everybody knows from '85. Cool fun fact, it was shot in Oregon. I've driven by the house. I've played with dogs on the beach where they first come out, at the very end of the movie. So in Oregon, it's a very special thing, So Sean Astin, Josh Brolin, some of these people, Corey, what the fuck is his last name? Corey Feldman.
Oh, yeah, Corey Feldman.
Some of these people all went on to have amazing careers. The story is just so I don't know, it's perfect. It's a perfect blend of like everyday real life, but with some fantasy and adventure and a little bit of a love story. It's the perfect Mod Podge category movie that I just fucking love. Yeah. All the way down to the bad guys being even, not quite so bad because they are being a family trying to take care of each other. And, it just feels very cartoony, but it's real life. Just fucking love it. Just fucking love this movie. And I don't think...
Sorry, I was going to do it at least once.
I don't think that you could have a list of cult classics and not have this on it somewhere, in my opinion. So, everybody knows the Goonies. I don't have to say much about it, but a lot of people, I honestly don't know if it was received well when it first came out, but it's got a pretty big following of people who love it, at least nowadays. So
we're all still doing the truffle shuffle.
I seem to recall way back in the day when Jeremy and I were working in the same plant. That's how we used to fight each other on the plant floor. One of us would yell, "Hey, you guys!" And then we'd be like, oh, he's looking for us. Gotta go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you have to say about this film?
I think I said it. Oh man, yeah, it's one of those.
I mean, is it at least get an honorable mention on your list?
Oh, absolutely.
I could say, yeah. I was thinking even just like you talk about like some classic '80s movies, man. That's definitely one of them for sure. Not just even a cult classic, you know.
Yeah.
That'd definitely be on there.
Yeah, this was kind of a perfect amalgamation of a lot of things. For one, adventure movies always tend to do well, the whole treasure hunt thing, because I think deep down inside, all of us would like to go on a treasure hunt. Not even something that like takes us to the depths of the ocean to find a pirate ship that's been underwater for 150 or 200 years. But I mean, just to go on any kind of a treasure hunt, there's something exciting about it. I mean, there is this weird adventurous spirit that everybody has when you get a chance to go experience a movie like this and just have fun. Yeah. Everybody wants to do it. And then to top it off, I mean, there's plenty of talent. I mean, a lot of these kids were kind of the second little bit of brat pack that we got in the 80s. Martha Plimpton was in it, of course. The future Thanos is in the movie as the older brother, of course, Josh Brolin. And I continue to hear whispers about. It's got Joey Pants. It's got Joey Pantoliano. You can't go wrong with Joey Pantoliano.
And everything Steven Spielberg touches is gold.
Oh, pretty much, yeah. And this was something that he really enjoyed doing. And on top of that, who was the guy that directed it? Was
Richard Donner.
Yeah, Donner.
Richard Donner. And Chris Columbus wrote the screenplay.
Yeah, I mean, so you're talking guys who at that point, I mean, they were filmmaking gods. I mean, they couldn't touch anything. You couldn't touch anything they did and give it anything bad. But I mean, Martha. And so
Plimpton, for them all to work together, it just makes this perfect storm of awesomeness.
Yeah, and then Martha Plimpton to pop in, playing her role. She would go on to a pretty good career. It's like I said, there's so much about. And it's enough of a kid movie that, I mean, kids get it. There is that fun balance of little adult jokes and things like that, especially with the whole drug line where he's trying to talk to the to the maid in Spanish. I thought was really funny. There's a lot of things about this movie that have helped it maintain a high level of popularity. So high, in fact, that this is one of those got some kind of a sequel for probably the last 15 or 20 years. And it's got and the sequel talk has actually gotten to the point where guys like Josh Brolin and Sean Astin get asked about it, and they're like, "Look, it's out there. It's out there in the ethos that we're all making ourselves available to come back and do something. Maybe not to just be the Goonies again. Maybe glorified cameos, just be the parents while our kids kind of stumble across some adventure." They're just like, we're totally willing to come and revisit this universe again, because why wouldn't we? It's fun. It's great. It's interesting. It's everything that you really want a movie like this to be. And, and there's a reason, like I said, that these become cult classics, is because they do hit you at a lot of different levels. Age, you start to find new things about these movies to really enjoy. So yeah, Goonies is a perfect example. What's going on, Night Watch? Glad you could join us for a little bit. We were running a little bit behind. I had to restart my computer because my computer decided just to not want to do anything for like 10 minutes. But yeah, we're back on here now. Our viewership's back up a little bit. That's really cool. Thanks to JCS Foot Rub is in here. TSS is in here. Cora's in here again, doing her thing in the chat, making sure people aren't getting mad. I'm kind of mad. I'm kind of mad the trolls haven't come in to mess with us at all. I could use the watch time, but whatever. I don't really care.
Hey, Night Watch. I've got an Evil Dead arm I made myself. Put me on your
Night
show,
Watch.
please.
He's trying to pimp himself out to your show.
I've already told him that
he's working on it.
I've already told him that if anybody from this show goes over there to hang out with him, it would be fantastic, and it would probably be you, because this horror thing is all your bag, man. This is all your bag.
The fucking orange juice jug, man. It's some bike chain, some wood. How awesome is this? It's groovy.
Have your moment. Awesome. This is his Patreon moment.
Yes, this is his Patreon.
Yeah, that's one of the first cosplay props I've ever made. Like, probably ever. Like, that's.
Look at that smile. I mean, the smile when you talk about it, you can tell how proud you are of it, and I love it. That's just, it's like awesome.
Well, now that I've made more props, I'm kind of looking at it like, I could have done that better. I could have done that. I could have done that.
Oh, don't be hard on yourself. Be proud.
No, it works. Look, there was I actually got a shirt. I ripped the sleeve off. I ripped it up, bloodied it, and I had like a little drawstring bag. I didn't really have like a holster for the shotgun, but that's where I stuck it. And there was this cop who was also the resource officer at our high school. He was driving around Halloween night giving out candy. He stopped me. He remembered me, but he was like, "Hey," he's like, "Wait, come here." He's like, "Dude, I love that outfit. You even got the boomstick and oh my god." He's like, "I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that. That's amazing." Thank you. It was also pouring down rain, so I was kind of looking like from the third movie. He's like, "I fell in the pit." I'm just like, holding the gun up and shit. It worked.
Well, do you have any left, any air left in your lungs to talk about your next movie, Jeremy?
I do, and I better because I am about to fucking scream the line. I even got another prop out, and I'm about to. I think I've got a prop for every movie on this list now. Jesus.
Ooh. Show and tell and picking at your brain. Love it.
Right. All right. So I guess we're gonna stay in the '80s here, and we gotta talk about Red Dawn. The OG
Oh,
Red
I
Dawn.
saw that on several lists today. Yeah.
Yep. This is fake, by the way. No one freak the fuck out. There was an orange tip right here. Wolverines! Come on. How awesome is this movie? Like,
it's got an orange tip, folks. It's cool.
It does. Oh, fuck me. I just broke the side off of it. Oh, well, I don't need it. It's an AK. It's not accurate. But yeah, it's an orange tip. It's fine. Wolverines. AKs. Russians are invading. Where'd that go? Oh yeah, I broke the fuck out of that. Oh, well. It's okay. It's okay. It's the site doesn't sound important. I got the aim.
As an Ohio
Oh
State,
my god, this might be old. This is from '84.
as an Ohio State
84.
fan, it's the only time you'll ever see me cheer for the Wolverines.
No, you're funny. So, I watched a guy on YouTube review this fucking movie, and he was like, "Dude, I was like a kid in this fucking time." He's like, "Trust me, if you were a kid in the fucking like mid '80s like this was your fucking wet dream." I'm like, "You want to fucking have some Russians invade? You want to go out there with your friends and kick their asses?" I'm like, I wouldn't know. I wasn't there, but I mean, I believe you. I really do. Oh, man, this is one of those great fucking movies, man. It's one of those weird like what ifs because I'm like, well, we've never really been invaded, so this was kind of. And again, given I think of the headspace of when this movie was made, man, and this is probably like the height of the Cold War too. You're talking about mid '80s, so you've got fucking Russians and Cubans fucking just dropping right into America, fucking shoot people, taking them hostage and whatnot, and the kids just
That's like
they
an Isaac Asimov novel.
Yeah, they dip off in the woods and they start fucking fighting back like guerrilla fighters and starting a movement. I mean, man, can you fucking imagine? That's wild. And of course, you got what Patrick Swayze, and you got Mr. Winning himself, Charlie Sheen playing his brother. That's what I call him now, Mr. Winning. And you got Jennifer Grey, who, as we all know, did not get along with Patrick Swayze, but whatever. The wife puts baby in the corner. Not the only movie they did together, right? And Leah Thompson, who I know Frank has a thing for because of Howard the Duck, but I don't blame you. Look, and what Powers Booth, man, is the fucking the Air Force colonel. Dang, that's it. Yeah.
Cora, what are some
I'm not gonna talk about I'm not talking about the remake, but yeah.
I've never seen it. I have heard of it.
What? Wait, hold the fuck on. Wait. I forgot. It's right here on my desk. Look at that. Boom. Right there. Can't see it because
I haven't seen this one. I will watch it though. I'm putting it into my little list of things I have to watch.
So
Dan might even own it.
So I sat here and did that shit, and you have no idea what I just did.
No.
When you see the movie, you'll understand.
You'll see this, and you'll understand exactly what I was just doing.
I will watch it. I will watch it before next Thursday. That sounds pretty good.
I'm sure Frank and everybody, at least some people in the chat, know exactly what I'm talking about.
But
I gotta fix this site.
Yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves.
And,
it
Jeremy
has people in it. I mean, I'm a fan of Leah Thompson, Charlie Sheen before he went crazy. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm Patrick Swayze. Yeah, I'm down. I'll watch it.
The scene that always jumps out at me at this movie, it's one of the most gut-wrenching scenes that I have ever seen in a movie. They go to see because these people take over this town that they live in like Wyoming or Washington or Wisconsin or something.
Colorado.
Colorado, that's what it was, Colorado.
Like that in Colorado.
I don't know. It was meant to be kind of one of those Anytown USA things. But,
yeah, it was.
But so
I've actually been to where they filmed this movie. It's actually in New Mexico, but I've actually been to some of the places. It's really cool.
But
yeah,
these Russians end up dropping in and taking over this town, and
okay,
they end up kidnapping a bunch of people who they think are people who are going to cause them trouble, and these kids end up getting away. And that's how they kind of mount this resistance throughout the course of the movie to everything these Russian troops are doing. But one of the things that they did was they turned this drive-in theater into like a re-education camp for some of the other dissidents of the town. And so they go to one of these camps and they meet his dad outside at the fence line. And they have this conversation. His dad, don't come back here to save me. Don't come back here ever again. You guys need to worry about protecting yourselves now. And it's a very, very powerful scene because he's saying, I mean, you get the impression over the course of the scene that they are not going to see each other again. Like, you know how this is going to go. And so as these two boys are coming to grips with what their dad is telling them, they're obviously very emotional, crying. I mean, even Patrick Swayze, who was kind of the adult of the group, who was one of the ones who was keeping his shit together throughout most of this, even he's having a very emotional response. So as they turn and walk away and walk into the darkness of the night, their dad, he grabs the fence and he goes, "Boys, avenge me! Avenge me!" And that is one of the most amazing scenes to come out of any 80s movie. It's gut-wrenching. It's powerful. I mean, people will look at this scene and not know anything about this movie and they will feel it.
That and, Charlie Sheen, like there's a later scene where Charlie Sheen's, he's crawling through the grass and he's like watching through the binoculars. They've got a bunch of townspeople lined up and they're about to firing squad. He looks down, he sees his dad, and he had to watch his own dad get firing squatted. I was like, holy shit, dude. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Fuck.
That's dark.
And then and Jeremy said it. It was like it came at this point. It was a very big what if. And because we were at the tail end of the Cold War. I mean, things were getting ready to wrap up in the coming years.
Yeah.
We didn't know that at the time, of course, but I mean, this was something that had been scaring people for 20 something years. From the Cuban Missile Crisis all the way up through the 80s and the Reagan years, this was something that was constantly in a lot of people's minds because it was when the old USSR was still in power and there was still this thing going on between us, and there was this legit fear that at any second this kind of thing could pop. So when you see this visually flesh out and played out in front of you, of these Russian troops dropping into Anytown, USA, because it's always been thought of that if anybody's going to try to invade us, it's going to be one of the coastal cities. It'll be San Francisco, LA, New York, Miami, something like that. But who the hell thinks they're going to drop in some town in Colorado or somewhere in the Midwest or one of these flyover states? I mean,
here, please.
Yeah, you never think of them just dropping in that far in. Now, granted, there's a little bit of a plot hole. I don't think they would have been able to fly one of their transports that far inland without being seen. No. But I mean, just getting away from that, putting on your suspension of disbelief, and just seeing how it all plays out. It is a very scary situation.
Doesn't even the Air Force colonels even kind of explain because they're really like, how the hell did this even happen? They're like, well, they coordinated strikes for all the silos in America first, all the missile silos, so that's out. And they did this, they came up from this way, and they came in from the sides. And I think he said but we stopped them, boom, right here. So now lines have kind of stabilized, and you guys are basically smack dab right in the middle of World War III. I was like, damn, is that, And I guess I like the nice metaphor he says. He's like, so how did this even start? He's like, I don't know. Two biggest kids on the block. Eventually, they're gonna fight.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's that simple. And you're like, yeah, I guess so. I'm like, I mean, shit, you're right. Yeah, Russia and the U.S. over here, they're like fucking the two biggest kids on the block right now, and they're gonna fight.
And it also does kind of play out this patriotic notion that existed a lot in the 80s, is that the strength of the United States is its people. Put it down. Don't load it up or anything. Keep your finger on the trigger wheel, Jeremy. We don't want you to get in trouble.
I'm not even. You see, all 10 right here. I know what I'm doing. Believe me.
But yeah, but there is this strong belief with a lot of people that the strongest thing that America has is its people. So when you have your back against the wall like that, it's the people in the small towns that will step up and fight for what's most important. Will fight for the basic freedoms that we all enjoy. And it was this very patriotic kind of message that existed through all this. And to top it off, that really ambiguous ending about who lives and who dies at the end. Certainly we see of them die over the course of this movie, but there's like we see the two characters on the bench at the end. Do they live? Do they die? It never really says that. It makes it a lot clearer what happens to them in the remake. And I don't hate the remake, but it's not the same. It's not the same. I feel like they were like, hey, Chris Hemsworth's becoming a star. He still looks like he could be a 21-year-old. We're going to go ahead and make a movie around him and throw him in there and do whatever. And I was like, meh, whatever. Like I said, it was an entertaining movie. And they did try to modernize it a little bit by making it like a China and North Korea kind of thing. And I was like, whatever. It still didn't quite have the same magic for me. You know, entertaining, but definitely not as good as the original. And again, the cast. I mean, come on, look at that cast.
Yeah.
The irony behind Red Dawn is that Patrick Stewart and Jennifer Grey were in this movie, and then the next movie
Patrick
they did.
Stewart?
Swayze,
Patrick Swayze. Yeah, that's what I meant.
I'm like, wait a minute. Captain Picard came down the
Could have been. Why not? Why not? But Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey very famously did not get along over the course of this movie. They did not like each other at all. And it's like, and
then they went on to make
Dirty Dancing together.
Dirty Dancing.
And for the first part of the production of that movie, they still were not getting along until eventually some people sat them down like, you guys need to work your shit out. You need to squash this right now. And then eventually they kind of put all that shit aside, finished Dirty Dancing, and then would eventually become friends. Because Jennifer Grey, I mean, it could have been all bullshit. Who the hell knows? Because, you know, actors lie for a living, so believe them, you know, at your own risk. But she did end up saying after Patrick Swayze died that she did end up thinking very highly of him after that, and managed to stay friends with him for several years after that. But yeah, so it was kind of interesting how these two people kind of moved on to the next project together. But I mean, yeah, Charlie Sheen before he got tiger's blood and Adonis DNA. Yeah, really a lot of young actors were huge throughout the '80s. Some of them didn't quite make it through the '90s.
Tom Mattel, baby.
Oh yeah, and he's fantastic. He was huge in the '80s and into the '90s, but for some reason he really just kind of fell into character actor status. And his career never blossomed the way that some of these guys did. Now Patrick Swayze, I mean, come on, it's like he had it all. But yeah, just such a great cast all over the place. And like I said, that one scene, the guy that what's the name of the guy who does that? His dad. Why am I drawing a blank in his name?
The actor?
Yeah, the actor.
Hold on, for which character? I have it up right here.
Damn it! Why am I?
They're dead.
Yeah,
what is the character's name?
I forget what his name was.
Tony, Daryl, Matt.
Tom Eckert.
Let's see what you say, because he's
been Tom C. Thomas Howell?
No, not him.
No, that's Robert.
Oh,
Darren Dalton, Brad Savage, Doug Toby, Ben Johnson, Harry Dean Stanton.
Harry Dean Stanton, that's the one.
Harry Dean Stanton.
Mr. Eckert, yeah.
Dude, Harry Dean Stanton was a beast in everything. One of my favorite TV shows was Big Love. Was the show that Bill Paxton did. He played the
dad or the grandpa in something I saw recently.
Yeah, he just passed away a few years ago, but he was fantastic in just about everything he was in. And really, like I said, the way he conveys the emotion in that scene when he goes, "Avenge me, avenge me!" It's just phenomenal.
The Avengers. He's a security guard in the Avengers.
He did have a small cameo in the first Avengers movie. That's right.
It even gut punches you even more when he talks about it. He's like, remember when you guys used to go to the playground when you were little and on the swings, and I used to push you, and you were just so little back then. And I'm like, you realize that last shot is. They're going through and they sit on a bench. It's the playground they used to grow up on. And I'm like, holy fuck, and they're about to just die there alone?
But we don't know if they die there. That's the trick. It's an ambiguous
You know they were going to die. At least Charlie Sheen died. I mean, like, he was shot to hell. And I was going to say, that we actually kind of studied and watched this movie in, like, a history class in fucking high school. I think a little questionnaire thing. And the teacher was like from that time. He's probably about like your age, Frank, now. But he was like, I watched this. He's like, one of the most powerful fucking scenes is when Swayze and Charlie Sheen are walking through and he's like carrying his brother. And then you see that Cuban guy like point the gun at him. And then you just kind of see him stare at him. And then he just kind of like puts it down and he's just like, just lets him go by. Because like even he's fed up with this shit and he just didn't want to do it anymore. I'm like, damn, that says a lot that this guy just was like, no, just let them pass. They're not threatening anybody.
Yeah, a very emotional movie. It's kind of part movie, part what if. It's really comes at you from a lot of different levels. That's one of the things that I've always thought was fantastic about that movie. But since we've talked that one to death, let's go to another one that we could probably go on and on and on about for quite some time, especially guys like me and Jeremy. And if you're a Kubrick fan, then you know exactly the movie I'm talking about, and that's The Clockwork Orange.
Clockwork.
Yeah.
You have spoken
gonna
about
say
it a
it.
few times in passing here and there.
Oh, I should have got a glass of milk. Damn it. Just get a positive zoom back.
I tell you what, I never ever saw this movie sober until about probably 8 or 9 years ago. And the first time I watched this movie sober, I was just like, I still like this movie. What the hell is wrong with
Did
me?
you hear about the news about it in the last couple days? I just Googled it. Evidently,
Okay.
there's a bunch of backlash going on because they do something about Clockwork Orange in the new Space Jam 2 movie.
I don't care.
And people are not happy about it.
I don't care. I don't plan on
okay.
watching that movie anyway. Fuck LeBron James. Sell out.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't want LeBron James to ever go near this movie. This movie is absolutely outrageous. It is out of this fucking world. But the basic premise of the movie it's in some kind of not near future, maybe alternate version of London. There's this guy played by Roddy McDowall who was kind of the leader of this gang of idiots called the Droogs, and they basically just go around London, cause all kinds of chaos and trouble. Now, this movie was actually, the book itself that this movie is based on, up until about 10 years ago, was banned in England because of its subject matter. I mean, it is, and for those of you who have seen the movie and not read the book, as outrageous as the movie is, the book is actually 3 or 4 times so, from what I've heard. I've never actually read the book. But, I mean, it was so bad that it was banned, not just in England, but in several countries around Europe for up until recently. And I think there's actually still some countries in Europe where the book is still banned. They didn't actually allow this movie to be played in England until 2008 or something like that. Like, if you wanted to get this movie, you had to order it online and, like, had it sent to you from another country. You couldn't buy this movie at any, like, Walmart or anything in England. This movie is so crazy. There's one point, now I get it. In this culture, there are some things that you have trouble putting in movies because of it's not PC. It doesn't look good. Now, there is a scene in this movie where this girl gets gang raped in an abandoned theater. It's
in the rain.
Yeah, it's not the kind of thing you'll find anybody put in a movie these days for obvious reasons. It was a pretty rough scene, but I mean, it was just to tell about what was going on in this world that these guys are inhabiting.
Is this at all like the movie The Cell with Jennifer Lopez, where they go into the brain?
Oh no!
Of
This is so much something else.
Okay.
Like I said, the first time I watched this movie sober, I was done with it, and I was like, I still love this movie, but damn, what is wrong with me? I mean, there is so. I mean, if you just look at it right there, the adventures of a young man whose principal interests are rape, ultraviolence, and Beethoven. That tagline
I feel
right
that
there.
way after watching American Psycho.
Yeah,
I like what is wrong with me to like
American
that.
American Psycho is a much better comparison. I still think Clockwork Orange is way more fucked up. But I mean, and
it's like the book of American Psycho. There's so much more worse shit in that.
Rachel's asking a question in the chat. Was this the start of the Kubrick stare?
I don't know what to start. Not knowing exactly the timeline of Kubrick movies off the top of my head. I don't know what to start. It's possible.
I think
it's possible. Not knowing the timeline, it could be. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if. Let's see. This came out before 2021 or before 2010. I know it came out before Full Metal Jacket. Honestly,
came out in 71.
My gut says yes, but I'm not 100%.
I would say yes.
My gut says yes, not 100% sure. But I mean, there's at one point in this movie, this gang of hooligans, they beat this woman to death with a giant porcelain dick. And I can't describe that scene any differently to you to make it make any more sense. They beat this woman up with a giant porcelain dick. It's like,
wow.
You have to watch the movie and experience it. It is somewhat like Rocky Horror Picture Show, that it's kind of an event just to watch it. Mm-hmm. But this isn't one of those movies that you're going to see them, I see people occasionally dressed up as one of the Droogs for Halloween, but I don't think those people really get it. I just think they think it looks wild and outrageous and cool. I don't think they understand what the Droogs really were. They were a band of terrible people that were doing things
Okay.
in a version of London that was just overrun by other terrible people. And what ends up happening in the movie is Roddy McDowall's character ends up getting arrested for all the terrible shit that he does. Kubrick's really good about making his movies kind of two different things. It's like the first half of his movie is one thing, the second half is another. The best example is Jacket. The first half of the movie is really boot camp and all that stuff, and the second half of the movie is when they go to war. So it really is kind of two different halves. But the second half of the movie is they end up experimenting on this guy. They end up terrorizing him the way that he was terrorizing other people throughout the first part of the movie, as what they see as a form of rehabilitating him and making him not want to be an asshole. It's just an insane take on like mental health, on what happens when society runs unchecked. And like they hang out at a milk bar. It's like a bar that sells. Now it's not just a milk bar. It's like, what do they mix in milk? Is it like meth or heroin or some shit like that? They mix in the milk. So they sit around drinking milk, getting shitty on whatever the hell drugs they've put in the milk, and they go out and act like hooligans and rape women and do all kinds of crazy shit. And it's just really an eclectic film. And Stanley Kubrick was not afraid to take crazy stories and make them extremely watchable. Very, very interesting.
Sounds like it.
But yeah, it's definitely something that the first time you watch it, it's an experience. And this movie will leave you shook. There's a few movies I've ever seen that the first time I watched it left me shook. It's like, it took me a couple of days to come down off this movie and to kind of like feel like my head wasn't spinning again. But, Jeremy, you've seen this movie, I know. What are some of your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's kind of. I'm sorry, I'm still fucking with this thing. Because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm listening, and I'm also like, what actually broke? What the fuck? Because I hit the table on the way up. I don't know how I did that. I got a little two Wolverines in there. Yeah, I don't know. I think it is just kind of, you have to experience it. I mean, like how else do you just casually say, yeah, they beat a woman with a fucking porcelain dick and are singing in the rain? What? Yeah, you heard me. You heard what I said. Like,
and the soundtrack is so nonchalant. It's like it's got "Singing in the Rain" and Beethoven. Yeah. These aren't songs that you would think you would see in a movie about a psychotic individual like this. They're so mellow, feel good songs.
Like when you watch House of a Thousand Corpses, you're never gonna listen to Brick House the same way.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know what I'm talking about. Sherry Moon Zombie is not hard to look at, but also that was just fucked up.
Absolutely. But yeah, Cora, if you ever get a chance, I mean,
looking at where I can try to stream it. I may have to buy it on Amazon. I don't know if I can stream it.
We're here in America. They're not stingy.
HBO has it.
Yeah,
we don't care in America, really.
I tell you what, if you get a chance to watch this movie, let me know. We'll sit down and do like a retro review on this.
I'm trying to find where I can get it.
If you watch, like I said, if you're a fan of Stanley Kubrick, it is definitely one of the more intriguing things about him. I watch movies like this and I start to wonder if Stanley Kubrick was messed up in the head, the same way I wonder about Stephen King when I read some of his stuff that he writes. It's like,
Yes.
Because like I get that Stephen King comes to these things like he writes down his nightmares, but I'm like, there are some little things that you put in there, like the sewer scene in It when they're trying to get out of the sewer of the book, not the movie. This obviously wasn't going to make it into the movie, but like what goes on with the kids and that whole little group sex thing they had going on, and the galactic turtle and all this weird shit that he writes. It's like this was one of the movies I kind of looked at Kubrick and I was like, I want to make this into a movie. It was just such an outrageous story, or at least not water it down and make it a little more palpable. But then again, if by watering it down, you really make the character, the movie wouldn't be the same. It would have been a forgotten movie. By making this movie so shocking is one of the things that has given it this quality that has made it last for 40 years now, almost 50 years now.
It's like for $6 with shipping, I can get a used version of it on DVD from Amazon.
This is one of the few movies, like I've been thinking about like cutting down my DVD collection and just keeping some for like decoration and stuff and a couple of the Blu-rays and stuff. But this is one of the movies I have on DVD that I will not get rid of. It will always be in my collection. All right, hey, you can go shoot fake people again. Good job, Jeremy. Good job.
It's for a movie. Just
calm down, people. Don't demonetize YouTube. It's okay. It's not a real gun. It's a toy. Not that we're monetized anyway. What's up, Michael?
Yeah.
See you in the chat, buddy. How you doing, buddy? Good. Glad you were able to come by and hang out for a little bit. We're talking about some favorite cult classic movies. But anyway, that's my most recent one, and we're going to go on to Miss Cora now to give one of hers.
Last one is another one that, if you have not seen this, I can't be your friend. The Princess Bride from 1987. So, this is based on a book, which I have listened to the audiobook version. And in it, I just fucking love this movie for the... It's just fantastic. It's just like movie gold for me. And I love this movie for so many reasons. The love story is like way down at the bottom of the list, but it is cute. The acting, the plot, the writing, all of it. Rob Reiner directed it. William Goldman wrote the screenplay. Fuck the cast: Mandy Patinkin, Robin Wright, Carrie Elwes. I don't remember if I'm saying his last name right. Fuck, my favorite character in the whole movie is hardly in it. Billy Crystal. Oh my god! And it's just Peter Falk. I mean, playing the grandfather with Fred Savage being the kid. Which, by the way, when I was growing up, I was a huge fan of Fred Savage from that TV show he was on. I forget what it's called.
Wonder Years.
He's a kid in the '60s. Yeah. So it's just, awesome all the way across. Even the bad guys. I mean, the costuming, the music, the timing, the pacing, the comedic value of it. Rachel wrote, my dog is named, oh, that's so cute, after Princess Buttercup. That's really cool, Rachel. It's just one of those that's the more modern version. It's not the same thing. Stardust by Neil Gaiman. It's a book. They made a movie version of it. To me, it reminds me a lot of this movie, The Princess Bride. If you haven't seen that, if you like Princess Bride and you want a modern take on something similar, try Stardust. It's great. You get to see Robert De Niro dressed in drag dancing around. It's hilarious. But back to Princess Bride. It's fantastic. Love it. I can't tell you enough how amazing it is. And there's a following, so many quotes and references to it, and I could probably look at a list of movies and see some type of subtle reference to Princess Bride in other movies that are made, because this movie probably influenced and entertained filmmakers when they were kids. I don't know. That's what I'm gonna say about it. Fantastic. It transcends time, and it's amazing, and it will be forever. And I hear they're talking about remaking it. Fuck you. It's good the way it was. I'm not watching a remake.
Yeah, don't do that.
Oh, they're doing it, I'm told. But from what I read.
No,
yeah.
don't.
Oh, I agree with you. It's like, why the fuck did they do that to Footloose? Didn't see it. Why the fuck did they? But anyway.
I didn't either for that reason. We'll watch Top Gun. Because Tom
it's
Cruise,
a sequel,
I
not
love
a
that
remake.
movie.
It's a sequel.
I know.
Yeah, that's the difference.
I know.
Yeah.
But you know how I feel about 30-year sequels.
Matter of fact, I've got my Maverick hat ready to go for that review.
I'm so happy for you. I need like a Talk to Me Goose or something. I need some kind of.
Was Princess Bride on either of your guys' lists?
No, it wasn't, but I can't argue
Okay.
you putting it on the list at all.
Okay.
Again, it was one of those movies, like, that's kind of the point of or what makes a cult movie, is that it's something that kind of, people miss it when it first comes out, and then over the years, someone watches it and they're like, holy shit, how was I not there opening night for this movie? So it does, modest at best at the box office when it first comes out, and then it just becomes this whole new thing. It just runs through every other movie into your consciousness every day. And I think Cora said it amazingly. It's like, this is one of those movies that is tremendously quotable. It's like, whenever you hear the word inconceivable, you can't not see.
Right, inconceivable.
I think you're using that word wrong.
Say that word like you know what it means. Yeah, exactly.
Jeremy, what do you think of this movie?
I was gonna say inconceivable again.
Yeah.
The weird thing is, I think I always had this movie on like VHS, like when I was a little kid. Like I had like Shut Up, if you can believe it, Imagine that. Shelves of just fucking VHS movies.
Mhm.
I think that was like on the bottom where, like, I was a kid, I didn't really get it. It was there, and I didn't understand. Like, I was just like, "What is this? The Princess Bride? That sounds like, I don't want to watch
A
that."
girly, like Fred Savage's character.
I mean,
is this a kissing book? You know?
Yeah, I'm like, I had Disney movies. I mean, it's not like I didn't. It's not like I didn't have, shit like that. But I was kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It just kind of always sat there. I never knew. And then I think when I got a little older is when I actually saw it. But again, it may have stuck with me more because I was a little older. I was just like, wait.
Yeah.
I thought about that. I'm like, wait, that was that fucking movie that sat on the bottom shelf of my damn when I was a kid. And I never
Do you still
knew.
have it? Do you still have it on VHS? I bet it's worth something.
I think I do because it actually moved it all into this house. I think
Nice.
all the ones that are on the shelves. I think. So I still have all those Disney movies out there. So I have all the Veggie Tales.
I have a suggestion for your shelves behind you. Do one shelf of all your favorites that you still have on VHS.
Ooh.
Like tilt them like a video store kind of thing. Like one for VHSs in the cases. That will look really cool and snazzy.
I should do. That's a good idea. I should do that. Maybe the one where you can't see shit, like right here.
But you can see it when you come in and out, though. You know.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
That would show up better because they're like white plastic cases better than that shit. She knows why. She's in the chat.
Rachel with one of the great chats and one of the great quotes in the chat. Marriage is what brings us together today. Again, it's kind of like Goonies. It's an adventure movie. It's a different time, a bit of a period piece, which is cool, but it is an adventure movie, and I think even guys get a kick out of it because while there is that romantic element, it's a lot of swashbuckling sword fights, and then of course Andre the Giant, who I've never heard anybody say a cross word about Andre the Giant. As a matter of fact, I've heard.
Well, would you?
No, even if he was a jerk, I probably wouldn't talk shit about him. He was only 3 times my size. But it's like, right. And even I noticed when somebody was interviewing Robin Wright about this several years ago. Somebody had asked her about what he was like on set, and she wasn't just giving like the typical, "Oh, he was so wonderful, he was such a nice guy." There was a way that her face kind of lit up a little bit, and when a woman's face really lights up when talking about somebody, that's the indication that there is that whatever nice that she says about them is real. And it's from the heart. And there was that thing where her face kind of lit up and she kind of looked away from the camera and kind of got lost into a memory of, something that he had said to her and stuff like that. He used to walk her off and on set to he was okay and how wonderful he was. But, again, there's so many things, so many aspects about this movie that make it wonderful. It's the dialogue. It was written wonderfully. It's again, it's the adventure story aspect. It's the chemistry of the actors. Here's one of the things a lot of people don't realize about these movies that last a long time, and I've mentioned it before. You can't put chemistry together intentionally. It has to happen by accident. And the way everything fell together, Billy Crystal and Carrie Elwes, Robin Wright, Andre the Giant, Sean Wallace, Wallace Shawn. It's all this stuff. Mandy Patinkin and his great lines throughout the whole thing. It's everything about this movie came together in just the right way. I've been thinking about doing a specific video about remakes, about things that we would like to see remade, things that we absolutely don't want to see remade. It's kind of always been in the back of my head, and like what constitutes a good remake. I mean, if a movie is going to be remade, what kind of thing do you want to see from a remake? And with remakes kind of being the hot thing in Hollywood, I mean, especially as we're coming out of this COVID thing and they're trying to draw people back to the theaters, they're probably going to go to some IPs that are already recognizable rather than take too many chances right away on newer stuff that they're not sure about. So I think in the next couple of years is probably when we'll see somebody take a shot at this if they're going to. But I mean,
they've already started casting it, supposedly.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm always very shaky on any movie getting made until I see them put in front of the camera. And even then, there's a lot of stuff that has been shot that has never seen the light of day. So even then, it can be a little squirrely. But I mean, this is one of the movies that I'm like, I'm sure they can make it very, very well. I'm sure it could have a lot of the same humor. It could have a lot of the same great dialogue. It could be written well. It could be directed well and acted well. But it's not going to be the same. Because like I said, that chemistry that you get by accident is what makes movies so long-lasting. And I don't think you get that. I don't think you formulate that and get it together intentionally. I think it almost always happens by accident.
Now, Frank, we're a similar age. Did you remember watching this as a kid,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I did, and it just being mesmerized by it? I mean, I just, yeah,
Well, like I said,
I loved it.
I watched it in my teenage years, so so we were already looking for kind of like those adult jokes that like younger kids wouldn't get. But even then, as we're looking for all these things, we're finding these things that we related to, as we were 12, 13, 14 years old. We were finding all these things about ourselves, about the loyalty and about the friendship and stuff like that we were all kind of figuring out on our own. We were seeing all of it kind of fleshed out in this movie, so I think that's one of the reasons why it stuck. Is because this generation, the way that we were coming up, it's one of those things that was just perfectly timed.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, a fantastic movie that everybody should see at least once in their life. And if you don't like it, then you clearly don't know shit about movies.
And I have a couple. I have an honorable mention. If I could do a TV series, I would do Arrested Development, the original run, not the new shit, for being a cult classic TV wise. So just a quick little. There.
Mikkel, I'll get a hold of you, buddy. I'll try to find you because I know that you won the $25 in free movie tickets last time we did it, so I'll have to get a hold of you so I can make sure I get you this stuff. But yeah, I'll see you later, Mikkel. Thanks for coming in, man. We appreciate it. But was that your last one, Cora?
It was.
Oh, I guess it was. So now we're going to go to Jeremy for his last one.
We are on the home stretch. And that is why I exited, because I'm like, I might as well keep doing this prop shit, because apparently I have shit that works for it. Well, Frank already knows, since he knows what the last one is. You probably know what I'm going to do. Shit. My last one is the Boondock Saints.
Okay.
What'd you say?
So you guys see my lamp back there? That's the Boondock Saints. It's got the two guns.
That's right.
With the suppressors.
Yeah. Yes. I have a fake. I have one. So I'm just like, well, there we go. So, yeah. It's fake. It actually, fucking comes off. Yeah,
Orange tipped, YouTube. Yeah. Orange tipped. Calm down. Don't get pissed.
It's not even, look at that. It's flat. Hello. And, there's a reason why, it's out in the hallway, though. I might actually put it in here one day and frame it. I have a poster of, the two of them with the prayer center. It's been in, every place I've lived. It's always been there. And I always, specifically, I will kneel down and have someone hold it and tape it. I have it always aimed, where if the back of my head. It's always at that same height, wherever wall I put it on. So it always lines up. This is what Sean Patrick Flannery and a super young. I almost said Daryl Dixon.
William Dafoe, Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus. I almost said Daryl Dixon. I'm sorry.
Billy Connolly.
We would have understood what you were saying. We'd have been fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Two Catholic Irish brothers going out there and fucking. With probably the best character of the fucking movie, as much as I love Norman Reedus, David Della Rocco, playing Rocco, as his own character, going up and fucking killing anybody that they have this weird religious experience where they're like, yeah, we're just killing anybody that we think is bad. As he put it, he's like, fuck, you guys could do this every single damn day. We can kill everyone. I fucking love that line. I don't know what it is. He's just like, I know where they live. I know everybody's habits. I know who they sleep with. I know where they go. I know where they drink. It's me. I'm the guy. God, there's so many things. I don't know. I love that fucking movie. Yeah, because I'm Rocco. I'm the funny man. How many times? I don't know why I didn't catch it the first time, but I didn't know that one underboss was Ron Jeremy, the porn star, and I'm like, oh my god, why are you in this? I don't care. I almost said, why are you in this movie? And then I'm like, whatever, I don't care.
He's probably friends with somebody who knew somebody, and he happened to be in the area, and they thought, wouldn't it be funny if we put Ron Jeremy in here? Oh no, people catch it.
And we kill him in a place that he would definitely die in, the fucking live sex place,
Didn't he end up in prison recently?
Yeah, something about drugs and drugging a woman.
Yeah,
but you're not at all surprised considering his primary source of income for most of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
But Ron Jeremy is one of those guys that is kind of transcended. He's kind of like Tracy Lords, in a way, because Tracy Lords started out doing pornography too. As a matter of fact, nobody knew it until she was an adult. She was doing porn like before she turned 18, and nobody knew about it because she had faked her birth certificate or something. But he is one of those people that kind of transcended. He became kind of a pop culture figure in and of himself. So throwing him in a movie every now and again wasn't too outlandish. I mean, you'd expect that because he became kind of one of the Hollywood cool people.
Yeah, he knew everybody.
Fucking the movie that I watched it a few years ago, but I watch it every now and then, is Would You Rather? And I'm like, oh, it's got Sasha Grey in it. And it's a little while after she stopped actually doing porn and she was doing like actual movies. And I was like, oh, she's actually kind of fantastic. I love it. It's, and she actually streams a lot of video games and shit. Yes, I know, like yes, I know the chat, dude. Her mods are on it. Someone said something about like a dick and it was already gone by the time I went back. I was like, I really just see what I saw. No, it's gone.
No, it's gone.
Yes, we are aware of what she used to do. Jesus Christ, grow up. Let's see her play The Witcher. Fuck you. Right. I don't know. This is one of my favorite movies. I think I put this in my like top 5. I'm trying to remember what it was.
I saw the first one. Did you like the second one, or is it worth watching? Or
I don't want to say it's bad because it's not.
Okay.
I feel like it kind of opened up a little more, and you get a little bit more backstory on the dad, which was kind of cool. So like you see like when he was younger and how he started and how he became like, like in the first movie, like there's a reason why there's like 500 fucking guards all just aimed at him. If you so much as fucking farts in the wrong direction, they're gonna drop his ass. I'm like, oh, okay. There's a reason for that, but I feel like it's like the Jaws thing with me. I'm like, it just kind of doesn't have the same magic to me as I'm like, if I just watch this by itself, it's worth a watch. It ups itself a little more. I mean, they go from Beretta 9mm with silencers on to fucking like, they dual wield some 50 cal like fucking Desert Eagles with silence. They're fucking huge, man. It's pretty sweet.
Well, the next time I watch the original, I'll just watch the second one after for shits and giggles.
Yeah, it's a good continuation, and they do Rocco's character some justice. He is actually in the movie, and you have to see in a way he's in the movie. It's still pretty cool, and I think I don't remember what the dude's name is that plays. Oh God, the Mexican dude that fucking like the new Rocco.
Clifton Collins Jr. is one of my favorite character actors.
Yes, and also, and that's the thing is on Norman Reedus' show, right with Norman Reedus, he actually did an episode with just him. And he actually did one with Sean Patrick Flannery too. It's the thing is that they're all still buddies, and that's what's fucking cool.
Yeah,
it's worth it. But I watch the first one more often than I watch the second. Like I always watch the first one on St. Patrick's Day. I always watch it.
I will watch that movie any day of the week, anytime. Doesn't matter. Cora, what do you think of this movie?
I loved it. I like shoot 'em up, vigilante movies. I'm a big fan of movies where people are using guns. And the Irish accents are great. I loved it when I first watched it. I've seen it a couple times. Now I'm kind of interested in watching the sequel. And plus you've got like a great cast of people who have all gone on to do amazing shit that, sometimes you get into find actors and you want to go back and see what their prior work was that kind of led up to the greatness that you first observed. If you like any of these actors, this would be a great movie to go back and see if you haven't seen it, just to get a taste of the the younger version of them. So yeah, good movie. Love it. I'm glad it's on the list. So thank you for mentioning it.
Yeah, when you do anti-hell, they are pure gold. And then you add in a little bit of the vengeance narrative, because like I said, everybody's the good guy in their own story is how it's always said. But these guys, as violent as they are, you do kind of. I mean, even though they're not doing the right thing, they're bad guys. They're not bad guys. They're doing what needs done. So even though they're breaking all kinds of laws, murdering people, you're like, yeah, the people they're murdering are probably people who need to go away anyway. So
do you think? I was gonna say, do you guys think Batman would be friends with these guys?
Maybe, maybe not.
Batman doesn't.
Batman still wants to. Batman is still out to enforce the law, though, in a manner of speaking.
Maybe not the same way.
Batman, while he would absolutely throw one of these bad guys off a roof if they were being too much of a problem, his first line of thinking is, I want to secure this person and then drop them off at Gotham City PD for Gordon to deal with. These guys are like, nope, we're gonna get you on your knees, we're gonna come in on either side of the back of your head, and then we're gonna end this thing right now because that's what you deserve. So maybe they're a little more brutal than the more cartoony Batmans. I mean, the harder Batmans.
Gotcha.
Maybe he would just say, hey, you're a bad guy. We toss you off the top of Gotham City Hall and watch you splat on the bottom.
Maybe Batman will just throw him down to the Saints.
Yeah.
Yes.
He might leave him to the Saints and be like, I'll turn my head. Whatever happens,
I
happens.
like it.
Right.
I like it. Send him a message saying, hey, you might want to be at this intersection at 10 o'clock tonight. Wasn't me.
In the alleyway.
But, yeah, I agree with what JCS Foot Rub says in the chat. The first one is definitely better than the second one, but the second one is so awfully damn good. It is pretty clear that the first one was so successful financially they decided to up the budget a little bit and the production value a bit, but not so much to where it didn't fit. And obviously the second one kind of leaves it open for a lot of things that could come in the future. So hopefully we will be seeing a third one soon.
I keep seeing that Troy Duffy keeps putting out things with scripts for the third movie, and I'm kind of like, you better stop playing with me, dude, because if this is real, I'm gonna lose my goddamn shit. Because I'm like, you did leave it open, and I mean, I don't want to say it, but Walking Dead is ending this year.
Thank God.
No, fuck you.
Enough people have died. No.
Oh,
I watched
okay.
the first. I watched the first two seasons, but people just keep dying. How many people have to die? Over. You get attached to characters, they're dead. You get attached to characters, they die. Over and over. It's like
nobody is safe in this world. That's the point. 11 seasons of this shit. I mean, holy fuck. Maybe it's because I read the comic.
Anybody survive the series finale, Jeremy, or will they all just turn into zombies?
I hope they all just turn into fucking zombies at this point.
Thank you.
No. They're going to have to, because no matter how you die, you still come back. It doesn't really matter if you get killed. You're still going to come back. So that's going to happen anyway, so whatever. I don't care.
We digress. Sorry about that.
All I know is the sooner that show is off the air, the better, because that frees up his schedule to do Boondock Saints 3. Free up his schedule, give him all kinds of time to film the third Boondock Saints.
And like I said, it wasn't that long ago that he did that Robert Rodriguez episode with Sean Patrick Snyder and something. So I'm like, they're still there, and like I said, they're all still really good friends. So.
And this is definitely a passion project for all the three main people involved, too, for the director.
Well, Dafoe's still out there.
Oh, yeah.
They'll still do it.
He's still out there. But, this definitely is a passion project. It's something that they're not going to rush to just to make money. They're going to make sure that they're paying a lot of attention to detail in doing this, because it is a passion project. It's a labor of love, really. It's not something they just want to throw out there for whatever reasons. That's something they have to feel like they do right, because there is such a tremendous fan base around these movies. You can't. If you shit on them and put out a bad movie just to put out a movie, they're gonna kill you.
Yeah.
But I've got one more movie to talk about, and I'm going to go to the way back machine for this one. I'm willing to bet that neither one of you have seen this movie, but I remember watching this movie with my dad when I was a kid, and it is so outrageous and stupid. But
what's it called?
And this one is on Amazon Prime, actually. I almost watched it last night, but I ended up going to bed instead because I was tired. But it is Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
I have seen this.
Oh, you have seen it, really?
Many years ago.
I've seen clips. I have not seen the movie itself. So
this
I know of it.
This 1970s classic, I couldn't possibly describe it to you guys. You just have to go see it.
Did you know there was a TV series of it too?
There was a TV series and a cartoon that was out in the 80s for a while that was much more kid friendly. I mean, the tomatoes are actually kind of good guys, and they help the kids go around and stop people doing shit. But it was not at all as good as the original film. Now, I can't possibly explain this movie to you. Basically, some crazy shit happens. Tomatoes all go crazy and start eating people. That's it. That's it. Go take that ridiculous idea for a movie and run with it. And that's exactly what this movie is. It's hilarious.
There's this movie called I'll wait till Christmas time to tell you, but there's a Christmas tree version of it. Let's put it that way. It's it's hilarious. It's a 20-minute thing, and the Christmas trees kill people, and because they realize that they're being murdered to be cut. Anyways, sounds like I got to turn you on to that one. That's funny. But yeah, I did see this years ago, and I was like, this is weird. It just seemed like an excuse to have a bunch of footage of girls running around and not wearing much, screaming.
Well, it was the late 70s.
Yeah. It's gratuitous. Come on.
Yeah, but I have heard of people liking it and adding it to the cult classics, echelon of, whatever. But I personally probably would not watch it again. But I mean, I remember watching it when I was like 15 or 16 going, what the fuck? This is nuts. But you know what? If it rang true in your, childhood and you loved it, kudos.
Well, they actually made a sequel to this movie, believe it or not. I forget what the exact name it was. I think it's been Attack of the Killer Tomatoes Again, or Part 2, or something stupid like that.
Mm-hmm.
John Astin actually plays a mad scientist who, for whatever reason, decides he wants to try to control these killer tomatoes. John Astin, for those of you who don't know, he played
Gomez.
What's that?
Gomez.
He played Gomez, yes. He played Gomez in the Addams Family. And he also played, he had a recurring role in Night Court as Harry's father, and he's been in a bunch of other stuff like too. He's also the father. He's also the father of Sean Astin, the actor that we talked about earlier.
Actually, he's not. He was for years. That was who he was told his father was, but his mom lied. His father is actually somebody else.
Well, I'm going to choose to believe that's him because I think it fits perfectly. But yeah, it's again, and JCS Foot Rub. You can actually go watch this on Prime. It's free on Prime. I actually just the other day put it into my Watch Later tab on Prime because I want to try to sit down and watch that. But yeah, it's from this weird era. Like, did any of you ever hear of what is it, Toaster Wars?
Yes.
No.
It's a Star Wars parody. To where it looks like porn, but there's no sex. It probably costs about $12 to make this entire movie. But basically, it's Star Wars, but everything is like household appliances. Like the Millennium Falcon flying through space is just a toaster. They didn't even try to make it up to look like a spaceship. It's just a toaster flying through space. It's from that era of movies where they were like, let's just throw shit against the wall and see what sticks. And maybe it'll be funny, maybe it won't be. But like some of this stuff ended up being absolutely fucking hilarious. And maybe part of it was just it was so goofy that you couldn't take it seriously, so you were able just to watch it and laugh. But this kind of comes from that era of that idea of filmmaking, that little genre, where they were just like outrageous, crazy shit and see what happens. And this is one of the movies that kind of stuck. But yeah, it ended up becoming a really big property. They had a cartoon for several years that ran. They ended up making one sequel. There was something else they did. I like most movies, it spawned like a comic book series, but I don't think it was one of the big series. I think collectors are on it just because they collect comic books and have it. But I don't think it was tremendously popular or anything. But yeah, it did last for a long time, deep into the 80s. It was kind of a really cool little property. And over the years, it's kind of faded away. But it's, again, if you want to go to the Wayback Machine and just watch something that's so terrible that it's awesome, definitely go check this movie out because it definitely fits the bill.
Yes. Agreed.
But it's on Prime, Jimmy. Wow. One of these days, just sit back and watch it, and just be bowled over by its ridiculousness. It's like,
the moments when you know they're using a model, rather than it is so obvious. I love that in old low budget movies. When you can tell that like they're not trying to hide the fact that, oh yeah, we didn't actually do this. We just set it up on a table to make it look like it and filmed it. I mean, it's hilarious. Like, yep, that's a model. That's a model.
It's one of those ridiculous movies. They didn't even try hiding the wires. They were just like, fuck it, the wires are going to be in the shot. They were like, who cares? We're not taking this movie seriously. It's going to cost us $25 to make this movie. It's probably not going to go anywhere. Who cares if we hide the wires?
I swear the tomatoes were just beanbags that were filled too full.
Yeah.
They just put a little green dot at the top, but
look, I mean, if they made a movie about a fucking killer tire on the road, I mean, I'm pretty sure I can deal with this.
But yeah, definitely check it out. It is all kinds of fun to watch. And like I said, it comes from that really cool era of filmmaking where, like I said, they were just throwing shit against the wall to see what sticks. Let's just outrageous shit out there and see what happens. And then a couple of these, like I said, they ended up being absolute fucking gems. Ones that have kind of standed the test of time. I'm really disappointed that this movie has kind of fallen out over the last probably 10 or 15 years. I'm hoping that like these younger people who become cinephiles, who become film fans, that they will go, when they go back, they find this because it really is kind of fun to watch. But a couple of my honorable mentions before we get to Jeremy and his honorable mentions and then get out of here is one of them was Willy Wonka. I mean, come on. That movie's just a classic. I mean, it wasn't expected to do a whole lot when it was made in 1971, but it's an absolute classic. And everybody knows Willy Wonka now. They know the Oompa Loompas in the musical. I mean, Tim Burton did his remake because the original Willy Wonka was so wonderful. He wanted to get a piece of that. Another one, and this is right up Jeremy's alley, is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It wasn't a big movie when it came out. It was B-rated. It was low budget. But look what that movie's done for the horror genre.
I refrained from mentioning it. I was like, I could very well say that. But I will be sitting here talking for 2 hours if I said that one. So.
Well, you remember, Jeremy and I did sit and do a retro review of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You guys can go back and do our retro movie review list and find that gem. We definitely did a little bit of a deep dive into that movie, and again, it's a great movie that it really did kind of set the horror genre into a great run of about 15 or 20 years where it was phenomenal. The other one is a movie that didn't do very well in the box office, but really took off once it got to home video. Was Contact with Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey.
My god, I love that movie.
Yeah,
I've seen it 20 times. One of my most favorite movies.
Yeah, it was in theaters for like 20 minutes. It was in theater for like 20 minutes. It was not in theaters for very long at all. I mean, it was barely in theaters long enough for you to even get through the closing credits. But after it hit the secondary market, the home video and stuff, it really blew up. And there is something very deep and very philosophical. And the acting in it is fantastic. It's so loaded with great actors. I mean, it's got James Woods. It's got Angela Bassett. Of course, it's got Matthew McConaughey and Jodie Foster. I mean, it's just so loaded with such great actors. But it is very deep philosophical. It's got a little bit of the sci-fi to it. A bit of kind of action vibes here and there. But it's definitely a fantastic movie. And if you guys haven't seen it, you absolutely should.
Oh,
it is. If you're in the idea of exploring space and kind of the mental aspects of what that would take, it's really interesting watch.
And I really like how they portray the idea of aliens. This is a more plausible, actual, believable premise of what alien contact would be.
Absolutely, I agree.
I mean, you watch it and you think, I could imagine this actually happening. And it doesn't seem like it's all fictional and fake.
And the mirror shot is a classic shot. Watching the young Jodie Foster's young character coming up the stairs, running to the bathroom, and then as the camera backs away, you realize you're backing out of the mirror, and you see her reach for the mirror. Oh, that mirror shot is classic. That is cinematography at its best.
I got so mad at the end when they were like, well, we nothing happened. We had no recording. Well, then how can you play in the X amount of hours of static that were recorded?
Yeah, just so many great actors and such a great movie. Again, if you're into some deep philosophical shit, that's the stuff you want to go to. Jeremy, you have any honorable mentions before we get out of here?
Yes. Other than Office Space, Cora stole mine. That's okay. First one I have is Mad Max, the original Mad Max.
The original is a good one.
Yes, very good. It's kind of one of those, it's another dystopian kind of apocalyptic future where there's no gas hardly at all, and it's just kind of on the back roads of fucking Australia. And yeah, kind of. I will say that Road Warrior is probably the best one because holy shit, that's when he really takes a dive, and that's when it starts becoming okay, gas is like a fucking commodity. This is gold. This is what we're all fighting over. I haven't seen Thunderdome in a long ass time.
I love Thunderdome,
but. Yeah, I haven't. I don't know. I'm stuck on Roadbird too much. That was my favorite one. That's that middle ground. I'm like, okay, you hit it good, and then you did it better, or even better. I love it. And then my other one was They Live from John Carpenter.
Good one.
Okay. I should have brought my sunglasses in here. Damn it. I've come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Again, it's one of those lines where everybody's used it or knows the line, but they don't really know where it comes from until you see the movie. You're like, oh, okay, that's where it comes from.
Yeah, I know. I had a discussion with this about with this much older gentleman at a con. I don't remember how we got on that topic, but we were talking about that movie. And he's like, dude, when that movie came out, that was like on the fucking nose. Like with all the tones and all the things that all the messages that movie's trying to portray. Is like with this consumerism, with this like this underlying thing where you don't realize it's there. The subliminal messaging that's like it was say like it's like marry and reproduce, like obey, like consume, buy things, and I'm like, yeah. And he's like, dude, that shit is still relevant today, which is fucked up. It's fucked up. I'm like, you're right. Actually, you know what? I can still watch it now and be like, this still makes sense. Holy shit. It may not be as wild as, hey, fucking pair of sunglasses and that fight scene in the alleyway too. Holy shit. But that's decided as like one of the best like fight scenes ever. Thank you, Roddy Piper.
And it was Roddy Piper. So for those of you in the community that love the wrestling, it's Roddy Piper that's in the movie that plays the lead. So yeah, another really fun movie. One of John Carpenter's. I mean, a lot of John Carpenter fans like it, but they don't usually have it in the top 5 of John Carpenter films. But it is actually very, very good.
When you got like the Thing. Halloween,
oh yeah, I mean, his resume is so deep with good movies anyway. Surprised that it gets kind of lost, but it is actually a very, very good movie.
It's in there for me.
Yeah, but that's about all the time we have for you guys tonight. Thank you guys for coming around and hanging out with us. JCS Foot Rub, Cora was in here, Cora on the call, obviously. Who else was in here? TSS2 was in here, Rachel in here, of course, as always. Michael Clow was in here. Just love all you guys for hanging out, and thanks you guys for coming back after we had a little bit of a weird computer thing happen and I had to restart the stream. Thank you guys for coming back and hanging out with us a little bit. JCS Foot Rub, definitely go check out some of the movies that are always on this list. I really need to start putting these lists in the description. I think I'm going to start doing that. Whenever we make these lists, I'm going to start going in afterward and putting them into the description, so that way if you guys want them out, you can. A lot of this stuff is available on streaming services. Some of this older stuff you may even be able to find in like the $5.99 bin at Walmart or something like that. But yeah, definitely if you get a chance, go check some of these movies out. We really hope you guys appreciate it. And thank you guys for coming around. Cora, Jeremy, thank you as always for being wonderful co-hosts and bringing such great knowledge to all this stuff that we talk about. And we will see you guys later.